Hi, everybody. We'll give everybody a few minutes to get on and join us. I'm so excited. I had thought about doing the foundation paper piecing, but I really want to have this one particular project done to show it off. So whenever it is done, then I'll do that. So probably March, we'll do foundation paper piecing in March, because starting next week, we're going to do all things embroidery. So excited. Hang on one second. I'm going to close my... There we go. It is wet, it is murky, it is mucky today. Tried snowing, it tried sleeting. It has just about done it all. So, a few more moments. So excited. Give me just a second. I'm going to turn the camera around to where we're going to be talking. And I'll be right with you. So give me just a second. Woo! Up my nose. Hello, hello, hello. Hi, Suzanne. We're not selling today. So our live that we will have for our sale will actually be tomorrow. I'll move you closer because I'm not featuring products today. So on Tuesdays, we have tips and tricks, and that is all. And today's is all about organization and things that I use. Hi, Sandra. Hi, Mary. All about what I use to get things organized, to keep myself organized when I use them. I have them. If I just use them, it works way better, right? So, and it goes across anything. It's whether we're talking about organization to store your products, partly organized, partly not, or we're talking about organization that's going to store your projects that you're working on, right? And more so, not just organization to store your projects. It's extra. It's the things that make the tasks go smoothly. So it's like the pattern printed out, and if you've made a change to the colors, if you've trimmed, and keeping that organized, and what you can do to make the chaos more enjoyable. So I have a whole bunch of things that I use. Right here, I'm going to tell you where you can get them. These are not things that I sell. They're just things that I have found. And the great thing about them is you can get them at like Dollar Tree, with the exception of the one that's on the bottom. It's a little bit sturdier. I use it to store like these. This stores thread. So it has a sturdier container. The things that store my vinyl that I use on a constant basis in whether it's for projects or a product or whatever it is, I have a sturdier container for that because I'm going to constantly be using it. If it's something that I am, we'll say, we're going to pull this out. This right here is a splendid basket. I use them a heap ton. See, like there. You can see a deeper one down here. You can also see an old shopping thing. I use that for my scraps. I toss from applique. I toss it over in there, and then I organize it later. I use them on the shelf. You can see here, down, all the way down. And I get this one and the tall ones. So this is a tall one. I get both of these are from Dollar Tree. They're $1.25. You do have to check because they do sell really fast. They're flexible. If it breaks, it's not a heartbreak. It's not super expensive to get a whole bunch of them. I use these for laying out my projects. Like this one right here has a buttercup bag in it that I'm making. Pieces are already all cut. A portion of it is already pulled out because I also can stick the stabilizer in it so the container's a little bit short. So like this right here. This has a buttercup bag in it. And because it has the bosal in our foam for right, so here's my foam. I can set it in the side of this like this, just like that. So it sits there. That's the way it's supposed to be sitting. And then right back here. So that's going to be a project that I'm going to work on next. Finished projects or projects that don't require the higher side to hold a portion of my project that I'm working on or cutting, whatever it is, I will use the shorter basket. I have some over there that have a couple of panels. It's big enough. These baskets are large enough, the short ones. So they're a little bit wider. It feels like I can take a book. So if I'm going to work on a project out of a book, I will take that and lay that in the bottom like this. And then I'm going to set my cut pieces on top, right? If you have room for this, if you have room for it, I do a lot of prep beforehand. So I show my space of doom right here. So this has got stickers in it that I use to label my kits because whenever I put the kits together, I put stickers on, and sell them in the shop. I put stickers on them so that when you get them, you know what they're for. You're not just going to get a kit with pieces in it. They're stickered. It's the main fabric. It's the accent fabric, whichever it is. If it is straightforward and there's just two pieces that would be of the same cut that you could use interchangeably, I will only label like accent 1 or accent 2 or whichever it needs to be so that you know the differentiating in that, so that you can make it as I did for the sample. If you want to make it however you want to and the pieces are interchangeable, you're welcome to do that. Anyway. So these are all pieces that are cut to pull for, because we cut more fat quarters. These are to pull for fat quarter bundles. And so since I'll work from these, it makes it easy for me to pull this off. The shelf, I have like 8 of them. I get them from Sam's. They are 6 foot tall, 2 foot wide, 4 foot long. And they come with a nice vinyl shelf cover so that my bins slide really easily on there. Where was I going? Oh, so because I prep so much beforehand, I use the baskets a lot for my beforehand prep whenever it comes to kits, fat quarter bundles, the whole shooting match. It will all go into one of those baskets, and then I can stand or sit at a table and pull and create the bundles for you. And you say, well, how does that help me with what I'm doing? If you organize your families together, so your color families or project families, then it makes it easier whenever you go to do it to just pull and put it together. Now, if I'm working on a smaller project, got one. Okay. So right here, I have pulled my pattern. It has the instructions and everything there, so I can't really show that part. So we'll flip it around. And then I have the fabric that is left over for the binding in here. That's okay, Carol. Can you come to my house and help me organize me? This is the best I can do right now, Beth Ann. I cannot be in so many places at once. So this right here, I cut everything for a sample. The project is finished-ish. I have to finish the quilting because I was doing that on my domestic, because I wanted to do each one differently. Each pumpkin. It's a pumpkin table runner. I already showed you, you know, I got a thing with pumpkins. Anyway, I wanted to do some ruler work, some free motion work. And so because of that, it's all this. And what this is this is the binding for the project. So that's all that's left in here. When I am doing these, so if I'm going to make samples, I have these poly envelopes that I bought off of Amazon. You can get them there. Hi, Dar. You can get them from Amazon. They come in packs of 12, 18, or 24. I buy a lot. And I will take my pattern. Looking for a pattern now. Or my template. We're going to grab this template because this is a project that I have sitting over there. Like this. And I'm going to slide it in this bag. And then I'll cut all of the pieces for this project and slide them in here. That way it's all together, and then I can zip it up and throw it in the basket on the shelf. I also do this if I'm doing an in the hoop project on the embroidery machine. I will cut all of those pieces out first. Because, what do you mean? How do you get them from not sliding around in different project bags? Because this zips closed, I just have a whole bunch. I have a box of pieces that are done. And I just have to make sure that I zip the top. And then I throw it over in the basket. See? And then whenever I'm ready, I can just go and pull. Like, I'm done, want to make the next thing or the next thing. You can use zipper bags. Why did I do these? Because these are the same size as a sheet of paper. I'll show you. I'm gonna grab. So right here, these are 9 by 12, right? And so, yes, see, basket or a box. It just depends on if I don't have any basket space, then I'll throw them in a box. But you can fit a full-size pattern and piece of paper over in these and then zip them shut. See how that works? And so this is a little bit why I like these more than Ziploc bags. If I'm doing a project for in the hoop, I'll put all my cut pieces in here. The instruction for that set also in the bag, and then it's all pre-cut. So it's kind of like making your own Kimberbell kit. You're going to read the directions, pre-cut your fabric, and for each step that you're going to use that piece of fabric in, and that instruction will slide in here. If you just cut your fabric and you put your instructions in a 3-ring binder, that's what I had meant to get. I will find that. If you put your instructions in a 3-ring binder, then you can actually write on the outside of these with a dry erase marker, and it will wipe right off with an alcohol wipe. That's what makes these top favorite. They make them in smaller sizes, so if you don't need them to be that large, I have them both in this size and then an envelope, which is 8.5 by 5. So I think they're like 5 by 8 envelopes. Yes, they do. That was what I was coming. They do make them. And then you have your typical Sterilite see-through box with the snap-on lids that you can stack them. I like these as well. I have them. I have them in different sizes for different projects and different things. I use those for things that I'm not into as much, or I want to keep contained, like this right here. This is thread. If this spills out or falls off, at least the lid stays on and the thread is not all over the room. Whereas, yeah. So because of that, I will use the snap-on quick containers. That was my next thing. You can also get like this one right here. Margaret uses project boxes. This right here is a bin that I got at Dollar Tree as well. The lid snaps on. It has a handle. It is $1.25 again. They have them in this size, and the new for this year is this size one, which also fits a sheet of paper in there. The books don't lay as nicely in them. They're just a smidge too big, but this size as well. But it's shallow. So I have this one for my handwork that I'm taking up and downstairs to do. Now for like next to my machine and things that I use often and do, I will keep in this bin my basic things that I use. And this is a pencil box from, I think they come in sets of 3 from Dollar Tree. Has the locking ends on them. And this sets next to the machine or in the drawer. So if the machine that I'm working on has a drawer, I'll put one of these in there. And usually I have one for every machine because nobody wants to have to travel around with them. You can keep your feet in there. You can put your spool of thread that you're working on. If there's anything in particular, you can do any of those things. Now, let me grab my 3-ring binder, a 3-ring binder, not the, two things here. Hang on one second. Okay. And then I have, this is my 3-ring binder. So I print out for my embroidery work and put in page protector sleeves. I will put my designs like this in there. I do have books where I did Kimberbell. I cannot put my fingers on them right this very second. I saw them earlier, but then again, I'm cleaning and organizing, and that just makes a bigger mess until it's all done. So you can print out your instructions, your thread steps, whichever, put them in here. I like to put mine in the page protectors because I like the ability to flip through them easily. These are designs that are, those are designs. Yes, acid-free protection sheet, so I only have to do that once. I have got too many to count. I have a whole little bookshelf, whenever it's not in boxes, whole little bookshelf that holds all my 3-ring binders of embroidery designs, of quilt patterns, whatever it is that I can slide in, because I will, even if it's like the buttercup bag or any other pattern, I will buy it whenever I buy it and I put it together. I will still slide the pattern and the envelope and everything it came down. It came in one of these page protectors because it makes it easy to look through. Yeah. Then the next thing that I feel is absolutely necessary for your machine is going to be, or wherever you're working, is a notebook. And this notebook, this is my cutting table notebook. It has all my cut notes for patterns and such as that, so that when I'm doing, especially since I make a lot of different samples of the same thing, I'll put my cut notes in here because I'll change it up and say, oh, well, I'm not going to do this. And this is where I make my notes. I don't keep the pattern for that. I write what the name of the pattern is at the top of it, and then I make my adjustments therein. That way, whenever I'm cutting my kits and doing my sample pieces and everything, this is always on the table to reference. And it left. My train of thought left. Crashed and burned. So then we're going to get into, then you get into thread specific things, and I'll talk about this more next month, is taking a Sharpie and writing on the bottom of your thread spools. Hi, Victor. How are you? Writing on the bottom of your thread spools the color number that's on there, because inevitably what's on top. I use sticky notes to mark a page in a book, and I will put sticky notes on a stack of fabric, but sticky notes are more for me. I like to have, because the sticky wears off and it falls off and gets stuck on the bottom of somebody's shoe, because I'm not the only person that works in this space, and then it's gone forever. So I prefer something a little more not get losted. If I'm making a change to a color pattern or something like that, then usually I will just copy the page that I'm doing that extra. Sandra labels her containers. I don't. I usually have a note on the inside of it, but I have to open it up to look to see. And I'll be like, oh, what is that? Could I use that for my project? And then, no, I can't use that because that's what that's for. I would make an extra copy of the cut sheet or the color, the thread chart, and I will make my notes on that and put it in the box, put it in with the original one. So because I use the 3-ring binders, I can put all that information in that same page protector and have it to draw from next time. And that's probably in part of why I have things that I do test stitch outs and samples from first, because sometimes I don't read the pattern. It happens. It's what it is. And so, because I don't read the pattern, I put it together. Sometimes it's easier or it's harder. And if I slowed down and put it together with the pattern, then it would be easier. So, if you're going to do long-term storage, you need to have a tinted box or a solid bin, obviously, because of light and light damage that can occur. And depending on your lights and the plastic that your bin is made out of, oftentimes you can get different fading through the bin, especially if it's clear. If you use you can use like a photo storage box, but not if it's going to get damp. You can use, I have some from very long ago, a bunch, Sterlite used, instead of just making clear containers, they made colored containers. They made them in aqua and they made them in pink. And I think at one point in time, even black. The container was still see-through, because it was not an opaque plastic. It was a translucent plastic. However, it did protect the stuff that was in that bin a little bit longer because it was opaque. I think that's the right word. I could have switcherooed that around. I have a bookshelf that we're going to be bringing in. I store my books on the bookshelf in the order in which I use the most. Books that are in that are like, let's see, this is a new one, so this is what I need to put in it. Books that have a ringer on them, so this right here that makes them so easy, they don't sit well on a shelf. So if it's for my personal use, I will take the ring out and put holes from a 3-ring hole punch in there, and I can put it in a 3-ring binder, or I can actually even cut where that perforation is along the edge there. You can cut that off with a paper cutter and slide them into your protective sheets, which go into a binder that has a stiff binder. This one is just more like a poly binder, and then they have the other binders that are more have more structure to them, and that would be what I would put this in, again making it easier to flip through the pages and to put on the shelf. Thinking. I store my fabrics. You need to find a system for you. So the fabrics that you love the most need to be closest to the front. The fabrics you don't use all the time, further to the back. I have a bin that I store my heat and bond fabrics in. Bins. They are by color, so red, white, blue, green, yellow, pink, and brown. You know, the basic color range that you're going to have, and then all of the prints go in the appropriate color range. So that I use for applique, because it's easier whenever you're doing machine embroidery applique. You're going to put the heat and bond on whatever width of strip, and then you're going to trim it away. And so whenever I do that trim away, I just do the whole width of the heat and bond for the back of my fabric, unless I have a limited amount of fabric. And that is because I will always use it again. Always use it again. And sometimes I don't want to fool with having to get heat and bond on something. So instead of using the color I was thinking, I'll be like, oh, look, this already has it on there, and use that one instead. Questions? Are there any questions? Do I have any questions? Do you have any questions? I'm looking at my stuff to try to remember where I might have thought of or had forgotten. Quilts that are finished and ready to be quilted, but not on the long arm, I hang them with pants hangers, so that they stay as flat as possible. If you're not going to do that, you can either roll them onto noodles, stabilizers. So, and I'm assuming, Margaret, you're talking about stabilizers that are on the roll instead of flats, pre-cuts. Okay. So there's several ways you can do that. My favorite way for any roll that is 15 inches or shorter in width is a piece of pegboard and long pegboard hooks. You can get 12-inch long pegboard hooks. I think they have them at Home Depot, or I know for a fact that they have them on Amazon. I used to buy a big box of 200 from there, and then I hook that in and hang the roll on. Just hang it up on there. And then I arrange it, cut away, wash away, and then it gets all shuffled, and I can come back and do it again. But because I write on the inside of the roll, whenever I take the wrapper off the outside, I will say that it is cutaway, or wash away, or any of those things. I don't need that as much. However, since the boys are starting to do more and more embroidery work, and Asa helps, and I can ask somebody, can you hand me a roll of cutaway? And they can touch it, and I can tell from across the room if that's the one I want or not. But either way, it makes it easier for someone else to come along and do. You can, and then I will use, grab this real quick. I will make my own rubber band for it out of fold over elastic. There we go. Brain was catching up to the name. And the reason why is because it's stretchy enough, you can pull it around, make it tight. So basically make like your own rubber band for it. And you can make one for each end, and that keeps it tucked up if you're talking about it rolling and getting untucked. The reason why you don't use just a rubber band on it is because the rubber band can oftentimes leave oils or residue on your stabilizer or your fabric or your batting, whatever it is that we're talking about. If it's something that you're not going to use again for quite some time, hi Wanda, how are you? Then you can get a roll of shrink wrap from Home Depot or Lowe's or your local moving store. So if it's a U-Haul place and it's pretty good size, they're going to have a roll of shrink wrap, and you can shrink wrap that up. I have a roll of Vilene. I don't use Vilene that often, but it was cheaper to buy it in a big, large roll than it was in the small roll. So to protect it, whenever I'm done using it, I will cut my piece off and then I re-shrink wrap it, and it sits on the shelf for a while longer. But this keeps it clean, it keeps it dry, and it keeps it good for the next time whenever I'm ready to go. Thread storage is always one of those things. You can get those spool racks that hang on the wall, but if it's a color you don't use that often, then you always risk the dust on it. You're welcome, Margaret. I have, for my embroidery thread, I have a Alex cabinet from IKEA, and they fit in there perfectly. I can show you that. I'll pull that out. It's been one of those things. So anybody can, if you have an IKEA or if you want to order it, you can order one from online. I highly recommend it. They come on wheels. They do slide up underneath a table. If you have a table that they can slide underneath, depending on how tall your table is, or your cabinet, you can even build a cabinet on top of there. So these are old spool racks that I had in the bottom. Let's turn this down a little bit. There we go. These are old spool racks. These are made by OESD. They also go in art bins, so if you're going to travel with it. And then in the top, so you saw that I have my templates here that obviously I don't use because they're underneath everything. And then right here, I have more templates. Instruction manual to the multi-needle. Some regular sewing thread that just got tossed over in there. Overflow threads that don't fit in the bottom and aren't used very much. And then I have my pre-cut, most used pre-cut stabilizer. Most used stabilizer, period, for the multi-needle. So, and that cabinet has been absolute lifesaver. I really need another one. They make another one that is narrower and taller. So I want to say that it's 59 inches tall, but I'm not. I could be wrong on that. I think instead of getting that one, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get another one of these and then stack them on top of each other. Only because I would like to be able to put the hoops in there as well. And with all of that thread in there, I don't have enough room to put my hoops in that. So my hoops hang on the wall near the embroidery machine, which makes a lot of sense. But again, for the hoops that I don't use all the time, I would like to just be able to lay them flat. What I really, really would like to get eventually is a Husky toolbox for it to set on. They have a really nice one, and I would like that in blue or black. Blue or black, either one. Because they have shallow drawers at the top for hoops, and then it gets a little bit deeper, and then in the bottom you can put your stabilizer rolls. They're very, very nice. I've done a lot of investigating. I just don't have the spot just quite yet for it. And because then it gets heavy and it's big, and then there's no more, oh, well, I'll just rearrange everything in one day. Then it's the whole thing. I have a whiteboard up here, and that's going to be notes to self, or need to know things, reminders, what to order. I had written down the bolts of backgrounds that I needed to order until I ordered them this morning. So it's just a handy dandy deal. Trying to think if there's something else. You have any questions? Did I explain it? Was it what you expected? With my son in the store? Okay. It's a little bit of a drive, Victor. It's a little bit of a drive. So, quilt blocks I will put in the poly envelopes. If it is a really large thing, I will still put the project in the poly envelopes, but then I will put it in a container with one of those Sterilite containers with the locking lids, because it just makes it way easier. And then remember I said the thread things fit in the art bin. So if you don't have a huge collection of thread, you can get thread inserts for the art bins and put them inside there. I love art bins, but I don't use them for thread. First of all, I usually have too much thread. But I always put other things in it. Like I emptied a jelly roll project out of this one to show you. But for taking to classes, for all of those things, I like art bins better than just a bag. It keeps my fabric and my blocks flat. Because see, like, we saw this in part last week whenever I did the applique. See, my Riverside Knoll is in the bin. And so I know that that's this project that's in here. It's going to stay nice and flat and protected. Even if I do this, it's still protected. So that whenever I'm ready, I can just sit down and work on it. And whenever I'm done, I just close it up and walk away from it. I don't know anything else except for it's wet and rainy, and even though it's not really that late, it's dark outside and it's dreary. It's a dreary winter day. Tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we are going to have a clearance sale. I have discovered a couple of bins, because we moved the store, covered a couple of bins of stuff that need to go to somebody else's house. And so they're going to be like 70% off, somewhere in there. So up to 70% off. Let me rephrase. 2:00 tomorrow. Tonight we're going to do, Noah's going to help me. We're going to do pictures, and then I'll have the sale tomorrow. First come, first serve. They will be available until they're not. Or I will take them off and donate the rest to a mission in Haiti. Is where we send our stuff. They teach girls skills. Anyway, that being said, I'm so glad y'all joined me. I hope I didn't blubber on too terribly much, and you have some organization ideas. If if you have ideas that I may not know about, please share them. You can either comment on this later on Facebook. You can send us a message. You're welcome, Kathy. Thank you for joining me and putting up with me. Because I'm always looking for new and more and improved ways of doing things and organizing it to make it easy for to make the work just flow. I like a nice smooth workflow. So I hope y'all have a great rest of your day. Don't forget, I think Sandy is live tonight, isn't she? I need all the help. We all do. We all do. See, this is the area that I have been in. This is the area I have been in. We're not going to discuss the area I haven't finished yet. Or we're just not going to discuss that right now. So it's always a work in progress. January is always hit hard with that because we're always supposed to get organized and get back on track in the first month of the year. And I saw a post the other day on Facebook that said, my new year is going to start on February 1st because January has way too much stuff hanging over from the last year. So true. So true. So true. So very, very true. But I'm going to go. It's time for me to start supper. We had birthdays Friday, Thursday. Somewhere there. We had birthdays all over the place. And so, because two of the boys had birthdays. One last week, one yesterday. And now I need to cook dinner because we had leftovers. And then one of them wanted pizza. So that's the way that goes. And then, but that being said, thank you for joining me. I hope you'll see you guys next Tuesday at 4 p.m. We are going to do embroidery 101. So if you have never done machine embroidery, have a machine and you're too afraid to try it, or you just need a refresher course on the machine that you used to use, then by all means, you're going to want to tune in. Until then, I will see you later.